Hey everybody, welcome back. Tonight we're going to start our 2024 food plot series. We're going to start with Brassica this year because it's what everybody needs to be planting rather quickly. It's the first shoe to drop, so to speak. That's the first seed that hits the ground in most food plot programs. Ours especially, we already got our Brassicas in. Interesting enough, this is Monday night we're recording this, and we planted our Brassicas on Saturday later in the day, and we've already got germination. Monday I checked it at 3 o'clock and we had brassicas starting to pop already. So pretty excited about that. We're going to talk about that and a point I want to make about that in a little bit. But let's talk about brassicas. What are they? Brassicas are forage brassicas, collards, kales, turnips, so many variety of turnips, radishes, a lot of variety of radishes. I think you could say mustard, eggplant maybe, lettuce. I don't know if lettuce is a brassica. Cabbage could be, but we don't deal with that. We specifically deal with kale. We specifically deal with, we have 3 different turnip varieties in our Sweet Feast Brassica blend. Our Short Season Southern States Brassica blend has a different variety of turnip, a shorter variety. We deal with radishes. We found a really good radish that not only produces a big leaf on top, but it also produces a big tuber on the bottom. And we also have some kale. Now, and we have some collards. In a proportionate to where we have food from attractive food from September all the way through into January, there's something for those deer to eat with that Brassica blend. Now, we want to talk about attraction because right now, this time of year, you're seeing a lot of videos, YouTube, blogs. I don't know if people do blogs anymore. Podcasts, people talking about what you should plant. You should plant this. You should plant this. A lot of it's sponsored. We're not sponsored here. This is just information based off of our experience and the experience of our partners. But I see videos where people say you need to plant this for mature bucks, or you need to plant this, or you need to plant one thing. I strongly disagree with that. And I think there's a time and a place for just about everything, corn, beans, oats, grains, clovers, chicory, brassicas. We sell all that. We don't sell corn here, but we sell everything else. And I think the best fall attraction I've seen year in, year out, not only my personal hunting, our partners, customers, is a buffet system, okay? And part of that buffet system, and we're going to get into that probably in about 2 weeks, a buffet system. But a part of that buffet system is brassica. Now, I get to see hundreds of pictures every year from customers, whether it's trail camera pictures, success pictures with their deer, some of our partners. I get to see a lot of pictures, probably more pictures than most people. And let's just say I see, 100, 150 mature buck pictures every year, whether it's a harvest picture, trail camera picture, people in their stands taking pictures. Let's just say it's 150, okay? I would say 60 to 70% of those mature buck pictures are in and around brassica plots. And is that a coincidence? I don't think so. I think there's a lot of attraction with brassica, but there might be other things planted in those because we recommend a buffet system. But I see a lot of deer in brassicas, and I see a lot of pictures of a lot of mature deer that would lead me to believe they are attracted to brassica. A lot of people say mature bucks or bucks aren't attracted to brassica. I just see too much, information that tells me otherwise. So it's something to think about. I think there's a time and a place for all these plantings. And I think if you're not using brassicas, I think you're missing out, okay? And I know a gentleman in Michigan, he cannot get deer to eat his brassicas. I don't understand why. I've never really reached out and talked to him. But his neighbor down the road, they have the deer pounding the brassicas. I saw a farm in northeastern Wisconsin I was working on. Deer really didn't hit the brassica until probably December, but we only tried it for 3 years. But a half mile down the road, they would just destroy them. 2 miles down the road, we had another customer. They would absolutely destroy them in October. this one particular farm. If I had based my opinion on brassicas on this one particular farm, I wouldn't have a good opinion of brassicas. But on all the lands that we hunt on, they absolutely smash these brassicas starting in October here. So got to kind of keep that in mind, where you're getting your information from. Is that just a little tiny postage stamp on a giant map? Is that really relevant to you? Maybe, maybe not, but when people say that you shouldn't be planting brassicas, I kind of disagree, because if you've got the room, I think it's a great part of a food plot program. But again, we really believe in a buffet system, and brassicas need to be in that buffet. So, all right, seeding rate. I see a lot of people make mistakes. I see so many plantings, myself included, up until a couple of years ago, overseed their brassicas. Okay, I'm now seeing people recommend 8 pounds an acre. Companies trying to get you to buy 8 pounds an acre. We recommend 6 pounds an acre. And I want you to think about something. I've been doing this a long time. I've planted a lot of brassicas in my life. If I thought 8 pounds an acre was such a good idea, we would be selling it, okay? And I want you to think about this. I make a living selling seed by the pound, okay? So we only sell a 3-pound bag of brassica. If I thought 8 pounds an acre, a 4-pound bag of brassica was such a good idea, I would be making more money every bag of brassica we sold. But I think it's a terrible idea. I think it's too crowded. You're not going to get the results you need. I mean, if you look at the results of our Sweet Feast Brassica blend, these plants are up to your knees. I've seen them up to people's thighs. These things need room to grow, okay? 8 pounds an acre. You think about a pound of brassica. I don't have a bag of brassica in here, but you think about a pound of brassica. That is a lot of seed. You think about 2 pounds of brassica per acre. If you go up to 8, that is really a lot of seed. Okay, and you're going to choke those out. You go look at the seeding rates of turnips, of radishes, of collards. Okay, it's nowhere near that. So 6 pounds an acre is as high as you want to go for brassicas. I've done this a long time, folks, and again, if I thought 8 pounds an acre, we would be selling it at 8 pounds an acre, and we'd be making more money per bag of brassicas, but I don't think that's the way to go. So, all right, one of the mistakes I see with brassica planting is people plant them too deep, okay? And what I mean by that is this. You do not disc these seeds in. You do not drag these seeds in. All you need to do is just lightly pack them in with I really like a lawn roller because if you think about it, say this is your lawn roller, you're getting 100% contact all along this surface, okay? Some of these cultipackers with these great big grooves, you're going to get a little bit of contact here, a little bit of contact here, a little bit of contact here. You're missing it all through here, okay? I do not like big cultipackers. I think they have a place for their bigger seeds, but these little tiny seeds like clover, switchgrass, I really like a lawn roller. I've had the same lawn roller for 15 years now. It is beat to crap, but you know what? It does a really nice job. So you do not plant these too deep. How do we recommend planting brassicas? Okay, we usually follow, so it's 2024. So in 2023, where our brassicas are going, or where we put them in the other day, last year it was fall forage, radishes, and red clover. Okay, so we let the the red clover and the rye came back this year. We mowed the rye and we had a really nice thick stand of red clover. I tilled that red clover under. I packed it with my lawn roller. I spread my brassica seeds and then I packed it again. Okay, in a pinch, I've used ATV tires. I mean, you have to make lap after lap after lap, but they do a good job. Okay, and I've got great stands with that. But you only need to push that seed in very, very shallow. Remember, we talked about a lot, and I'm going to keep talking about that in this food plot series. Size of the seed, depth of the seed. A brassica seed, some of those turnip seeds are smaller than the head of a pin, and you just have to lightly press them in, okay? Now, one of the things I want to cover, I forgot to talk about on the seeding rate. And we've done videos, and I just want to keep people informed. You know, a lot of people are new to the channel. How I plant brassicas, how I did it yesterday. Okay, so let's say we did a long line. Let's say this was the food plot I did yesterday. I only needed 1 pound of seed. All right, so I actually weighed it out. Okay, and so I took a half a pound of seed and I went this way. My Earthway bag seeder, the 2750, the setting was at 1.5, I believe. And one of the things I do is I drop these 3 fingers, or I drop a finger. So as long as I'm hitting, seed is hitting this finger, I can feel seed hitting. I know it's coming out. I could not see the seed coming out. So that, when people are doing that are new to planting brassicas, because so many of them are dark colored and it's hard to see against dark dirt, dark soil, you can't see them. So you start opening that gate more and more and more, and next thing you know, you're out of seed. So I got my fingers down here. I can feel the seed hitting my hand. I know the seed's coming out. Just trust the process. So what I did, I only needed 1 pound of seed here. So I took a half a pound of seed and I kept going this way, all right, with that earthway bag seeder. Now, when I was done, I took the other half a pound and I went this way. And when I got to here, I had less than a shot glass of seed left. So I did that. That was perfect. Okay. Now we're going to do a YouTube video maybe next week. I'll show you the actual process that I did when I was planting this. But today we just wanted to talk about planting brassica and what to look for. So that is how we recommend it. Don't try to do it all at once, because I tried to do that for years and I'd run out of seed before I get over here. And these are way too thick. Half your seed this way, half your seed this way. And if you've got a really goofy looking plot, just kind of plan it out. Try to figure out how I can do this in multiple passes. All right, number 4, prep. We kind of talked about how we like to plant our brassicas. We really like to till under a red clover, a crimson clover, a green manure, something that's going to put organic nitrogen in the ground. It's going to help our organic matter percentage. I'm not even going to get into that no-till tilling. It's destroying. That's another time in another place. Like I told people the other day, I look at the results of our soil test. Our organic matter is going up. This works for us. We do a light shallow tilling once a year. So we lightly tilled under red clover. It was about a 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch deep. I just scuffed the surface up so I can get a nice seed bed for my brassica seeds. Okay. So if you're going to do like a throw and grow where you spray a couple of times and then drop your brassicas, okay, you still have to think about getting fertilizer into the ground if it's granular. If you're going to use something like our AP, our Starter Plus, our liquid nitrogen, you're going to still have to figure out how to get that that fertilizer on that ground, okay? You can't have a thick thatch layer. So if you're using something like our Soil Builder blend that's going to have a really thick thatch layer, you might have to mow that first and then do your seeding, okay? Again, it might be a light disking or something just to scratch the surface up. But I really don't recommend a thick thatch layer, rye. Buckwheat, that whole buckwheat method, I think I've seen success with that. I've seen failures with it. But you just have to think about something, though. That little tiny brassica seed does not have a lot of energy to push through a thick thatch layer. So if you're using something like rye, or you're using something like our Soil Builder, or you've got a pasture that you're round up a couple of times, make sure you don't have a thick thatch layer for that little tiny seed to press through. I really like scratching up the ground to get a nice seed bed prepped for that brassica blend. But again, you're only pushing that in very shallow. Okay, let's talk about things to avoid with brassica blends. It just seems like there's more and more seed companies trying to get into this industry. And I see this, one of the first things I'll do is I'll go look at their brassica blends. That kind of tells me if they know what they're doing or not. And what I mean by that is sugar beets. Sugar beets is, if you buy a brassica blend that's got sugar beets in it, one of two things. They have no idea what they're doing and they should not be selling food plot seed. Or they know exactly what they're doing. Probably shouldn't be selling food plot seed because they're ripping you off. What do you mean by that? What do I mean by that? Let's think about that. Sugar beets, I'm here in Michigan, one of the biggest sugar beet producing states in the country. One of our partners is a farmer, deals with sugar beets. These get planted in May. These do not get planted now. They do not get planted in August. They do not get planted in September. Sugar beets get planted in May. You would not plant corn right now. Would you go out and spend a bunch of money on corn seed right now? Put it in the ground and expect something to grow by deer season? Of course not. That's something that's planted in May. So is a sugar beet. Why are people putting it in brassica blends? When they know full well it's only going to get that tall, a little bit of green, you can get probably better results if you buy some cheap dwarf Essex rape than you will a sugar beet. I've got sugar beets growing right now in some of our food plots that we planted late June, and they're about that tall, okay? they do not belong in a Brassica blend that gets planted in August or September. They just don't. So seed coatings is another one. If you go and buy a bag of Brassica and it looks like a bag of Skittles, take it back, okay? You do not need seed coating. I've been selling brassicas for a long time. I've been growing brassicas. It's one of my favorite plantings, and seed coating means absolutely nothing. It's a waste of money. You get less seed in that bag, okay? And I'm going to hit that hard, especially when we do our clovers. We're going to talk about that as well. You do not need seed coating. And I just talked about how Saturday afternoon we planted our brassica blend. Got some water on it, some rain, some moisture, and at 3 o'clock on Monday, today, when I went out and checked on it, they were germinated already. So this mantra that you hear from the pro staffers, well, it's better germination, and you get better germination. Are you kidding me? We got brassica germinating in less than 48 hours with sunlight and moisture. That's it. No seed coating. And I see that every year. As soon as that seed is in the ground and we get rain, those are up within 24 to 48 hours. I don't use seed coating. You don't need seed coating. If you're buying a bag of Brassica and it looks like Skittles or M&Ms, whatever you prefer, take it back. You don't need that. And the companies that are doing that, they're ripping you off. Because again, I got my seed catalog sitting right there. You can buy these coated seeds, are less expensive than non-coated seed. Okay? Something to think about. Fillers, ryegrass. I mean, I don't know how many times we got to talk about that. I still see brassica blends with ryegrass in it from these big buck seed companies. Have no idea why they do that. A lot of people start to put grains in there, big cereal grains, peas. I don't mind peas, beans planted with brassicas, but you got to plant those separate because those are a different planting depth. Okay, clovers. I don't mind clovers being planted with brassica, some crimson, maybe some red, but me personally, I let the brassicas start to germinate and start to get going, then I'll go back and drop those clovers later. Cereal rye. I really like adding cereal rye to our brassica blends, but at 6 weeks maybe, just before it's fully canopied, 5 to 6 weeks, I'll go and drop some cereal rye on there. It might be a little bit of attraction for the fall, but what I'm looking for is that rye coming back the following year to feed the deer. That's what I'm looking for. One thing I want to talk about as well, to be aware of, okay, is radishes. Now, our Sweet Feast Brassica blend, I have yet to find anything better than this. We've got people that test this all over the country. I've just not seen anything better. But our radish content is 19.5%. I think that's the perfect ratio of radishes. Here's why. If you go and grab a radish this year, September, October, cut it open. It's soaking wet. It's dripping wet. It's probably got one of the highest moisture contents of all brassica tubers. Okay, great in October. But the further north you go, you get into these blends that have 50, 60% radishes in them. Something you need to think about, because I've seen it. We do a lot of testing here. We do a lot of testing in a fence where the deer cannot get to these plants. I want to see how big they get. But anyway, if you think about how much moisture is in a radish, and this is just personal observation and just talking with our other people, you get that hard frost early. I've seen it, 15th, 18th of October here in Michigan already. This might be completely different down in Illinois or the Carolinas or things, but the northern third of the country, you need to pay attention. If you get a couple of hard frosts where those radishes freeze, and then you get a warm-up, those things turn to mush instantly, okay? They rot, they stink, and the deer will not touch them. I see it in our backyard in some of our test plots where we run heavy radishes or the deer don't eat all the radishes, okay? Now, that's great for soil. It's great for soil because it creates that pocket and, blah, 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 soil health, and it creates that big nitrogen pocket or whatever. Well, that doesn't do me any good if I got a field full of radishes I'm counting on for Thanksgiving deer season, okay? They're all rotted and stink, and and again, this is probably something in the northern third of the country, maybe northern quarter part of the country, but it's still things we observe, I've seen. So you got to be careful about how much radishes if you're in the northern quarter of the country, northern third of the country, or you can get chances of early hard frost where these things will freeze solid. You got to be careful at the percentages of radishes. By the time the frost gets here, you know, they've eaten the kale, they've eaten the collards in our blends. Yes, they do like them. I know there's been some information saying deer don't eat kale, but that couldn't be further from the truth. Okay. But if you get too high of a percentage of radishes, you could find yourself sitting on a really stinky, deserted brassica plot. Now, I've not seen that with turnips, but, you know, speaking of radishes, there are radishes out there that I personally tried. You know, we do a lot of testing. And 2 years ago, we tried a certain radish. I was shocked to see the deer would not touch it. They ate the tops, but they wouldn't eat the radish. So we've found a radish that's got a really nice percentage, high percentage, tall leaf, and it's got a great tuber on it. But again, it's only 20% in our blend. Now, I'll add probably, if we're planting right next to it, say our fall forage or our green forage blend, we'll add some radishes to it, and we'll add some red clover. Red clover's for the following year. There is some attraction there. But I like some radishes in with those cereal grains because they are so attractive in late September and all of October. But I don't get carried away with the percentages, okay? Just something to think about. Watch your percentage of radishes, especially if you're in the northern states where you can get early frost. Watch that percentage of radishes. Probably don't want more than 25%. So those are some things you need to avoid when you're buying brassicas. There's so many companies that are getting into this. Very few really understand this. Very few know what they're doing. I think we've got the absolute best brassica blend offering with our Sweet Feast. Now, if you get into a position to where you need to replant, or I'm seeing this, I believe it's Virginia, maybe Missouri as well right now. There's a drought coming through. I was talking to a customer. He says, I don't see rain in the next 20 to 30 days. I said, okay, you probably want to look at that short season brassica blend rather than Sweet Feast because you might be past that window where you can get the full benefit of a Sweet Feast. That way you got a little bit of time yet to work in your food plots. You run that short season Southern States brassica blend. That's a 45-day maturity. Those plants are 45-day maturities. It's got some turnips, radishes, and some forage brassicas in it. Our Sweet Feast is a 75 to 85-day maturity with the turnips. We've got 3 different turnip varieties in it. There's always something for those deer with that Sweet Feast blend, but we've got 2 different blends that can cover just about any situation in the country. So brassicas, it's time to get them in the ground. We've got ours in the ground already. I know a lot of folks are going to be planting this week, the next couple weeks coming up. If you've got questions on planting brassicas that you need answered, you can ask them in the comments below. You can get a hold of us. There's an icon on the website right now. Down in the lower right, you can text and I'll answer. It comes right to our phone. So brassica plantings, that means everything else is right around the corner. Deer season's coming soon, folks. Some folks are less than a month away. So food plot season 2024 has begun. Brassicas are the #1 thing going in the ground right now. Thanks for watching, folks. We're going to talk about grains and we're going to talk about clovers coming up.